second. Are you all seeing this, what I'm doing here?
Yeah, I'm thinking.
Okay. Sorry.
You're doing good, bro.
Okay. All right. I think we got it.
I think
And
it's
we are now live.
It's rocking.
Yes. Okay. We are now live. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. It is Comics in Color, Volume 32, our third year anniversary. I'm so excited today because we've got so many amazing artists with us that are going to share with us their work and what they've been up to. So this is going to be really great. Okay, yes, it's definitely live. We're happening out there. So I have a few things I want to talk about before we get started talking to people. Make everybody's in. Okay, what is going on here? I'm sorry, I'm not at home, full disclosure. So everything's a little bit different and this thing is giving me problems. Okay, I think we got Reggie in and we're good to go. Okay, Comics in Color, Volume 32. So excited. So first of all, thank you everybody for coming, all the artists who are joining us and all the audience that's watching. Thank you for joining us with this. It's gonna be great. First thing, okay. Next Comics in Color, March 13th, Volume 33. It's going to be with Dummy Comics. So that's a comics company. They have a whole line of comics they're going to share with us about various things. I haven't gotten their artwork quite yet, but this is one of their things. So it's going to be really cool. Kalani Carballo is the main guy, and he's going to come and talk to us about what Dummy Comics has been up to. So join us on March 13th, same time, same channel. Okay, work. Okay, I just wanted to talk about Milestone Is Returning. It's pretty exciting. This month, it's going to be available digitally. Dennis Cowan and Reggie Hudlin are bringing back Milestone Imprint to DC. As you can see, they redesigned the characters and are coming up with new storylines. I see Hardware, I see Icon, I see Static. I see some other people I'm not familiar with, but I'm excited to learn more about them. So definitely keep your eyes out for that. I think that's going to be a major thing. So it's coming out February for the digital, and I think it's another month or two for the actual books. So that's a definite check out. Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur just got optioned for a show, which is looks really awesome. They've got a really great lineup. Sashir Jameda and Alfre Woodward and a new person named Diamond White, who I guess is a young lady who's playing Moon Girl. This is going to be an animated, but the big thing that I want to talk about with this is that Lawrence Fishburne is not only producing it, but he's playing the Beyonder. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Beyonder character, but he's like this ultra powerful trickster who just messes with people in the MCU. Back in the 80s, he was this dude who wore like a jumpsuit and a jerry curl, basically. But I'm really interested to see what our boy Morpheus is going to do with that character, because it's like, like Q on Star Trek. He's like this, like infinitely powerful guy. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens in it. But obviously, Moon Girl and Devil's Dinosaur is an amazing comic, and I love this style that they're using. So I'm excited about that. There's been a lot more like comic style cartoons. I know the new DuckTales and this Kid Cosmic that's on Netflix, which I'm enjoying. So I'm excited to see how they interpret this story. But definite check out there. Okay, next. Women in Comics International has a magazine, and they're calling out for submissions. You can find out more at womensincomicscollective.org. They're looking for comic strips, single panel comics, graphic essays, short stories, poetry, prose, and they're paying. I don't know if you noticed that on the bottom there. It says, all contributors will be compensated. So, submit. And Women in Comics Collective is just a great organization. They have their own con that they do. They do stuff at different cons. They were at Ladies Con with us and produced some panels there, and it was awesome. Regine Sawyer is the main organizer there, so definitely submit to that if you can. And it is open to everybody. I know when I looked at it and I saw women in comics, I said, "Oh, is it just for women?" But it's definitely not. It's for people of color and all of all kinds. So definitely check that out. Um, I thought this was really exciting. Unique Studios has partnered with Dark Horse, which is one of the major comic companies. I mean, it's an indie, I guess. If it's not Marvel or DC, then it's kind of an indie. They're partnering with Dark Horse to get way more distribution, and they have just a great group of stories. The Marasa one I read a couple of weeks ago, and it is really really good. I'm going to pronounce his name wrong. Akuye is the CEO there, and he writes all the stories and uses a bunch of different artists from Africa. So all the artwork is produced in Africa, and it's really good. And you should definitely check out their stuff. And I assume it's going to be everywhere as soon as this deal makes it happen. But otherwise, order it on their website. And the biggest thing I want to talk about is the Boston Comics and Color Festival is coming back. We are doing it on April 22nd through the 24th. And right now, the plan is to do 2 days of online panels and workshops, do the virtual deal, and then do an outdoor artist alley at Roxbury Community College in parking lot 1. That's the parking lot with the solar cells over it, which gives some cover, which allows us to, in case there is some inclement weather that's not too bad, it'll still, give us some cover because I know we're dealing with books and paper. And, we're going to adhere to all the guidelines for COVID from the city of Boston and the CDC. And, right now, there's not too many people can be in a space, but because this parking lot is so huge, we can set it up with different areas and all this, and make it safe and enough people to get in. I mean, there may be some lines, but we're gonna make it work. So it's still, we're still getting it together, but I'm very excited about this. Both pieces of it, I think, are going to be great. So definitely stay tuned, because more stuff will be coming out about this very soon as the plans start to come together. All right, so mark that date, and everybody mark that date in their calendar. And all y'all who are on this thing, all my artist peoples, definitely save that date because I want y'all there, needless to say. All right, and that's all I have. So let's get into it. I'm so excited to have all these great artists here. So I think we're going to start with my man Joel Gill and let him tell us what he's been up to in these last couple, like, how long has it been? It was like a year and a half ago that you were at Comics in Color. And I know you've been up to a ton of stuff.
Probably for like 2 years. Maybe.
Yeah, it's been about 2 years. At the one, you and Gene were both at the one Comics in Color that I didn't go to.
Yeah, I was still at Mass Art. I was still at the college here in New Hampshire at that
Right.
and since then, I've gone to, let's see, what have I done since then? I've had a book published every year for like the past 7 years, so I probably had a book published that year. So, actually, you know what? I think it was this book. This book was, I think this book
Yes.
came out.
I think you're right.
Fast Enough had just come out, which is my picture book. And right after that, I think Strange Fruit Volume 2 came out. And then, or right before that. So right before that, Strange Fruit Volume 2 came out. And then Fights came out, One Boy's Triumph Over Violence, which is my most recent book, which came out in January of last year.
It's an amazing book, and you've got a lot of success from that book. I mean, a lot of buzz.
Yeah, a lot of buzz. So like it's it's on a bunch of lists. I keep getting calls from people about it. So it's been really good. It's been well received. Like this is the time when the awards start coming out. So hopefully a lot of awards will be coming out over the next, that's my hope, is the awards will come out over the next couple of months. And then if I share my screen, I've got some, you got to let me share the screen so I can show you some of the other stuff that I'm working on.
Let me do that. I'm going to make you a co-host because I think you have to do that once you're already in here. So just give it back to me when you're done.
Okay. Let's see. Share. You guys should be looking at my blank screen right now.
Yep. Oh, wow.
Yep.
So just yesterday, this went out on Vox.com, which was a story of Onesimus, the enslaved African. So like I did that over the past week. I've just been working on, like, this is just like, I've been waiting for notes back on the bigger projects that I've been doing. So like I did this because they reached out and was like, can you do a comic about Onesimus? And I'm like, sure. So I did that over the past week, which is the story of Onesimus. If you guys don't know, Onesimus was an enslaved African who was given to Cotton Mather as a gift by his congregation in 1706. And then in 1721, the smallpox outbreak came out. And before that, Mather had asked Onesimus if he had ever had smallpox. And Onesimus went on to tell him that he had been inoculated in Africa by getting a cut in his arm and then adding a little bit of pus from somebody who had already been infected. So,
Wow.
so Mather actually like researches it and finds that a bunch of other Africans had the exact same thing happen to him. And then there was an outbreak after the Haitian Revolution. A lot of people had, a lot of Haitians had come to, a lot of refugees, the white slave owners had come to Boston and they were carrying smallpox. And so, and then there was a whole bunch of stuff with Mather trying to get people to do it. And William Douglas, who was the only known doctor. Anyway, this is the stories in Vox. You guys can go read. I won't go through the whole thing, but that was just published in Vox yesterday. So in the meantime, I've been working on the graphic novel adaptation of Stamped from the Beginning by Ibram Kendi. And so that's been my biggest project over the last probably 6 or 7 months. And these are some finished pages that haven't been edited yet. So like they still have some problems, but we'll fix them. So this is if you don't know, Ibram Kendi just opened the Anti-Racism Center at Boston University, and since June, this dude has raised $40 million for the Anti-Racism Center at Boston. Like he is on fire over there.
Wow.
And his book Stamped won the National Book Award in 2018. And so I've been working on the graphic novel adaptation for it over the last year. So, which is not a work for hire. And for you guys don't know, it's different than a work for hire is like Ibram Kendi hires me, pays me a set rate to do a comic based on his book. This is a collaboration. So what a collaboration is like, hey, we want you to come in and put your spin on it, kind of like what happens with Jason Reynolds and the Stamped, the YA version, Stamped Racism, Anti-Racism and You, which I haven't read. So if you guys haven't read any of those things, you should go check them out because those books are actually really fantastic. So I've been turning this 529-page tome into a 250-page graphic novel. So like that's like my all day, every day when I'm not teaching. But I'm waiting for notes for the first half right now. So that's what I've been working on. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask me any questions along the way. But so that's what I've been working on now. And so my newest book, which will go out that's not it. This is it. So this book is my newest, Tales of the Talented 10th, volume number 3.
Yes. Robert Smalls. Yes.
So this story, this is, in the process of all of this other stuff happening, my publisher changed. So Fulcrum Book published all of my other books. So they published all of my other Strange Fruit Black History graphic novels. So Strange Fruit, Tales of the Talented 10th were all published by Fulcrum. Fulcrum sold all their comics to 10 Speed Press. 10 Speed Press, not 10 Speed Press, Chicago Review Press. So when Chicago Review Press sold everything, they pushed the publication. This book was actually supposed to come out this month, but they pushed it to May. So it just went to the printer today. So this book is going to the printer today. Went to the printer yesterday. And will be out. And if you don't know the story of Robert Smalls was an enslaved African who stole the USS Planter and sold it through Confederate waters to the Union and gave it to the Union, then became a war hero. He and a politician. So like, here's the thing that I think is the most badass thing about Robert Smalls. Robert Smalls bought the plantation that he was enslaved on and then let his former master live there. Like not like Oprah buying the plantation her family was on, like, 150 years later. I mean, like 10 years later, I'm like gonna throw some cash down and buy the entire plantation. And his house is a museum now. So
that's the most baller thing ever. Most baller.
Absolutely. So also, another thing that most people don't know is that the law that created public education in America was actually written by Robert Smalls for South Carolina as the model for public education in America. So that book will come out in May of next year. In May of this year. And in the meantime, I've been working on just a follow-up to Fights. And if anybody's read Fights has a lot of, Fights is, it's about my life growing up, and it's the fights that I got into as a kid, and how trauma and abuse, sexual abuse, and all of the things affected me as a kid and how I sort of reacted to it. And that was typically with fights. It was typically violence at every point, because if you guys are teachers and kids don't just wake up in the morning and are sociopaths. So it's all as a result of something that's happening. And then once we know what's happening, we can help those kids a little bit better. So I wrote this book, I wrote Fights specifically for this, like I wrote that. But there are a lot of stories that I left out of Fights, specifically like some of the things that were just really great about when I was growing up, like some of the things that would happen. And so this is a book that's going to be a bunch of short stories called I Wish I Could Draw What Summer Smelled Like. And which is like just playing on the idea of, like, if you guys remember, like there was like two distinct smells when I was growing up. It was like the first day of school, because everybody had new clothes and new books and everything else. So that was a smell. And then summer, like when you got out of school, that first day of opening up the door and walking outside and smelling summer, like it smelled a specific way. And so like a lot of these stories take place in summertime. This story is called Rap. And it was about the Fresh Fest in 1983, 84 when I was 9 years old. And like, I lived in this small town in Southwestern Virginia. And so the city was, out an hour and 10 minutes away, and it was Roanoke. And so the Fresh Fest was coming to this town. And so we, like going back and like, we were like looking at Right On magazine that we could like get from the mag. That's where we would see it, right? That's where we would hear anything. And then there were days in which we would like try to get the radio station in Greensboro, North Carolina, which was the only radio station that would play hip hop, and they would only play it for like certain songs. Like you would only hear it occasionally. You guys remember this if you grew up in the 80s, like it wasn't like a common thing. And then there was this dude that started showing up at the apartment complex that I grew up in, who was like really nice. He would buy my friends ice cream. He'd just sit and talk to us for a long time. He had this like Chevette that had like windows tinted and like a system in it. And he would just kind of come and hang out on Thursday through Saturday. And when I was 13, because he was promising he was going to give us tickets. He was like, I'm going to get y'all tickets. It's going to be great. And then this dude just vanished. Like I never saw him again. Like after like an entire summer, he was doing that. And he was going to get us tickets, and then he just vanished. I realized later that he was the neighborhood drug dealer. Like had no idea that this dude was right. He was just like a nice adult who would just buy ice cream for us and talk to us kids, like non-threatening. And so this story is about that. There's another story about it's called Pop Bottles, where the apartments that I live in is a really rural town in Virginia. We would like we would walk to the grocery store. The grocery store is like a mile away, and you would walk to the grocery store, and along the way you could pick up pop bottles. If you picked up enough pop bottles, you could buy a slice of pizza and play Mario at this pizza place called Frank's Pizza. So you would just like get the pop bottles, go into Kroger, get your $1.50 or $2, which was enough, like $1 to buy your pizza, and then 50 cents or 75 cents, and you could play 3 games of Mario. And so like that's another story. And so like I wanted to put some more stories that were just about like Black boy joy in that time that are tinged with other things, right? Like, like this drug dealer, like that's an issue. Like being poor and having to walk, that's another issue. But like that feeling of like summertime and like all I need to do is just walk along the road because people throw their pop bottles on the side of the road. And so like that's what I've been doing. You know, other than like, you know, interviews and random stuff like that.
Awesome.
You know, yeah, I'm gonna be on a TV show, The Machines That Made Us, talking about Bessie Stringfield and Major Taylor. They talk about bikes and they talk about motorcycles, and so that's a pretty big deal in the show. So I went and filmed that just like last month.
So what are the other, someone asked about your other Talented 10th books. So you did Bessie Springfield, you did Bass Reeves, now you're doing Robert Smalls. Is there one I'm missing?
No, that's it. I've done 3. So that's the third. This was the third one. So they're no more. Sorry, I didn't see the messages. I keep forgetting.
Right.
Yeah, so like, yeah, getting the same vibes in the 90s. Like, yeah, the 90s is the same. Like, if you grew up, I mean, it's like close, right? When I was like, in 1990, I was 15 years old. So like that's all, like that 10-year period between 1985 and 1995, I think it's really close. Like, you know, you still grew up with all the same music. You still grew up with all, I mean, you guys weren't on the, if you were like a kid in like 1995, like if you were 10 in 1995, you got some of it, but you didn't get like the beginning of hip hop. Like y'all missed the fact, y'all had, by then you already had Yo MTV Raps. We had to wait for it. Or BET Rap Week. Like BET Rap Week when I was like 14, that was when like we had a VCR and like you had to rush home and get off the bus and hit record. And then sometimes they would cut the last song off. So you would know the entire verse to follow the leader, except for like the last 10 seconds or 15 seconds, because you could listen to it over and over from watching. Yeah, so it's that kind of stuff.
Yeah, Gene just mentioned Music Box, which was one we had around here, which was a video music station, which I think was on like the B side of the cable. I remember the cable you had to switch. I don't know if y'all remember that, but that was back in the day.
So yeah, so like that's what summer is going to be about.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds awesome. And I've got a chance to read Fights, and it is really, really good. I mean, the artwork feels good, the flow of the story feels good, and it's a great story.
I'm glad. I'm just glad. I mean, I get a lot of messages from people. I actually got some messages from people in prison who there were some prison reading groups that were reading it as well. So like, I got some messages from people that were really we're glad to have it. So I'm glad it's like, you know, it's out there in the world and it's helping people. So
Awesome. Yeah, it's a great story. Sad, pretty sad, but
it's not. I mean, it's sad, but it's
I mean,
like
there are sad moments, right?
Yeah, there's sad moments, but like I survive ultimately, right?
Right. I guess that's the happy ending. You're right here, so
I know.
here's the happy ending.
You know, I'm right. Well, I'm right. I'm in Whiteconda, so I live in Whiteconda, New Hampshire. So
A little oasis, a little black oasis in Whiteconda.
Exactly.
Well, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Joel. Do you want just a few words about Comics in Color? Well,
you know, I wish I'd been more comics in color. Like that's legitimately the thing. Like, you know, like just being around a bunch of other people who look like me, like comics and are interested in it. That's just, you know, like growing up, you was the weird kid, right? If you were a comic, you know, you'd be the only black kid in the comic shop,
right?
And you know, like now with like BCAF and Comics in Color and like all, you know, like all the other things that I've done over the past like almost 10 years, it's been, you know, like it's just like meeting people who are like, yeah, I remember that. Like, yeah, I was doing that exact same thing. Like that's really great. So like having a space, like especially when I live in Whiteconda, like I said, like having a space to like see other people. I just wish I've been more. I mean, I live an hour and 15 minutes from Boston. So it's just, you know, it's hard for me to get there, but really, really happy that Comics in Color is a thing that exists, and the more of those things, the better, right? Because you know, like I think Tony Perrier, who did Concrete Park, if y'all remember that comic, Concrete Park, he did it with his wife Erica Alexander, who was Max on Living Single, and she was in Get Out. But so Tony, like I know both of them, but Tony said to me once after, because he wrote a blurb for Bessie Stringfield, and he was like, the more stories we get out like this, the more we realize that Black people are like not a monolith. Like we are not like one group of people. We are like a very group of people. That's why it's called the Black diaspora, right? And like living in America has created, like Black people are e pluribus unum, right? Like out of many one, because we came from so many different tribes and everything else. And because we live in America, we were forced into this one thing. And I think the more groups we can get like this, where it's like, people who are like-minded, who are just different. Like not all Black people do the same things that we like. Some people don't get into this shit, right? Like that's just not what they do. And so I think that having a place like this is just really fantastic.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Joel. I really appreciate it. I'm excited for what you have coming up next, and everybody. And last, just give them where they can find your stuff.
Muted. So you can follow me on social media. I'm at Joel Christian Gill at Facebook, which I'm not really on Facebook anymore. But you can get me at Joel Christian Gill there. You can get me at Joel Christian Gill on IG, on Instagram, and I'm at JCG007 at Twitter. So, and then my website, Joel Christian. I made the website because my agent told me to. So, I I legitimately don't pay as much attention to it, but they were like, "You need an online presence," and I'm like, "Shit, all right." So, but it's joelchristiangill.com. So,
awesome. Thank you so much. All right, next, could we have
type it in the chat real quick?
Yeah.
Just to have a record of it.
What's that?
Say that again.
Joel, could you type it in the chat so that we can have a record of it? So I'm gonna save the chat.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, if you could do that, I can send that out to folks too if you need that. But yeah, everybody should do that at their, everybody put their contact information in the chat when they're done. But I'd like to have talk next about what he's been up to.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
Nice, right on. So you expect me to follow that? That's crazy.
I know. I should have had Joel go last because he's so good at this.
I'm gonna pull some books off the shelf and say I did it when I didn't.
I agree.
So yeah, first off, Cagen, congratulations on organizing this, and securing a next show. That's a huge deal. So
Thanks,
I know
man.
the last one going down was kind of takes you back a year in that real kind of surreal moment when you start seeing things fold and events close, and after a while you wonder when's it gonna end. But no, it's great to see it back.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So like most people, I'm sure there was some shock time when things started closing down, and I didn't I kind of didn't draw anything. I was more paying attention to getting toilet paper and doing that kind of stuff like everybody else. But eventually you start ending up with a little extra time on your hands. I was one of the fortunate people to be able to work throughout the whole time, so I didn't necessarily have that much time, but definitely had something that I wanted to get out, just creativity wise, just blank pad of paper, and kind of started getting back to my roots of illustration. Not necessarily sequential art, not necessarily book format, but I had been teaching a comics class that over the winter, that suddenly the last couple of classes they were saying, well, let's see if we can have a class safely, and then it kind of petered out and closed. So once that happened, I kind of missed that. I didn't get my Saturday morning fix with the kids, and so eventually that kind of became an urge that I needed to just kind of get out. So really what I ended up doing was kind of going back to a lot of my, as a kid I grew up playing a lot of Dungeons and Dragons and a lot of fantasy stuff and creatures and that kind of thing. So I don't have a slideshow, but I'm going to just show you right here. Just going to flip through some of these. So I started drawing things like, just things in my head. I would get an image and just make sure my art chops didn't get all dried up. So there's one there.
Clearly did not, because that is a joke.
And you've got this guy here.
It's Elf Quest.
Agent, could you spotlight this?
The
Spotlight?
Could you spotlight tax work?
Oh, sorry.
How do you
Sorry.
do that?
I want to see.
I'm not a teacher. I don't know how the Zoom thing works.
Sorry.
I am. I'm a teacher. I've been zooming for God knows how long.
What does he mean by
The kids
spotlight?
have me trained. I'm sorry, my bad.
All you gotta do is click
I
view
already did
and
it.
go to speaker. Click view and then click speaker and then it
Thanks.
will make it.
Thank you, dude.
No problem.
His damn teachers in the chat.
Oh,
Peanut.
B!
Barrington.
Thank you, Ted.
It should be done. I hit the pin. I pinned him, so it should
Okay.
Nice.
it should be good right now.
Cool. Got some sci-fi going.
Nice.
This is probably right after I watched maybe Prometheus or something. I love those tight-fitting helmets that mixed in with a little bit of Aliens 2 kind of gun. So, I mean, you can see some of the influences. We had just finished watching the Avatar series, which I never really watched the whole thing from beginning to end, but you got time, so why not? And then I wanted to see, I kind of started wondering, well, who would win, Aang or Tetsuo? So decided
Oh
to
boy.
maybe try that out.
Aang all day, every day. Aang all day, every day.
That seems to be the consensus.
Yeah.
Yeah, Aang would win. Okay.
Tetsuo would lose, but I'm still rooting for
Metal
Tetsuo.
bends
I'm
him into
sorry,
like
guys.
a dice or something.
And really, the thing that I wanted to do with this was, there's a lot of artists out there that, I really respect, but a lot of times they'll draw, to me, it looks like almost like a color form kind of thing, where each character looks like a separate thing that you can kind of move separately. But what I really wanted to do is kind of integrate things and have it just be, things interacting with each other. So just having, Tetsuo's blobby hand go around Aang's face, I really wanted to play with that whole thing.
I love it.
That, and then kind of similar to that, this was a little more recent, but I don't know why I wanted to
Wolverine.
some riots happening, but for some reason this needed to get out.
I love it.
But
You
yeah,
gotta ink
so,
that one, dude.
yeah, I do gotta ink that one.
No, it's
But,
I really like it. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, cool.
Wolverine's
no.
my favorite character. So
Wolverine. I haven't drawn Wolverine in forever, so that was kind of fun to do. But yeah, just to make sure I remind myself kind of why it is that I like drawing. Just, it's not project based, it's not pay based, it's not anything like that. I just want to, it's me and a blank piece of paper, and let's see what I can do and what I can imagine and see how close I can get the two together. So that's kind of the challenge there, which was a reason why you guys all do Inktober. I never did it. So, but I always loved watching what people do, because oftentimes it was artists that I respected, but it's the kind of thing that they'll tend to draw things that they don't usually draw. So to me, it's like looking into their sketchbook. So that was pretty cool. So I decided to kind of theme the Inktober, and I'll flip through these real quick. So I wanted to go for Asian mythological creatures. So at the same time, while drawing them, I wanted to kind of study up, because, I'll be honest, a lot of these I didn't even know were creatures. So I had to kind of, at the same time, learn and research and do that kind of thing. And that was part of the fun too, was figuring out, all these new kind of creatures and seeing how I could draw them.
I love that one.
And by the way, this is when my ink pen dried out. So that's why everything's in pencil.
What is that? What kind of, is that a fruit or something?
No, it's a classic Japanese umbrella ghost.
Oh.
It's literally an umbrella, but there's a guy being eaten by it, and he's holding like the lantern ghost.
Gotcha.
Oh, next one's here. Sometimes it's movie based. I was watching my TV and being like, oh yeah, that movie. The Ring.
Yikes.
This is a baby that lives in a jar and eats toes, which is a real thing, or a real myth. Hopefully not a real thing. Chinese vampires. Godzilla to scale. Eyeballing a whaling ship.
Nice.
This was the first one, kind of based on like the fox lady kind of a myth in Japan that can shapeshift.
The fox demon.
Yeah.
Talking about. Yep.
Yeah. Next one. It's kind
Nice.
of lives in the Himalayas. Had to throw in a Gremlins.
Classic.
Yeah. And this one is Southeast Asian, like a river god. And flying bottomless vampire.
Yes. I've actually
Which is
heard of
also
that
great.
myth before. That one, like the
Oh.
vampires are just half of people. I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
that's deep.
It was pretty, I mean, and that was definitely half the fun, was like learning all this stuff about, you know, again, like, you know, like we mentioned before, you know, Asian culture is also very diverse and all over the place. And, you know, there's no way to know it all. So I take opportunities like this to just kind of teach myself stuff as well. But as far as like paid work and things like that, there were a couple, you know, random things I went through. I did a label for a beer company called Medford Brewing. So that was something that, you know, kept the juices flowing. Most recently, though, there's a book on pre-order now written by Richard Louis, who's anchor on. He was an anchor on CNN. Now he's mostly on MSNBC. He does a lot of breaking news stuff, and he had reached out, and I met him last year in the winter, and he was just kind of shooting ideas for a book or a project, or he wanted to do something together. So finally, over the summer, we got together and mapped out what he wanted to do, which was basically a book, and it's called Enough About Me, and it's kind of a self-help book, but it's all about selflessness and how to, you know, how in kind of a selfish time, selflessness is one of the, you know, most useful, important things that we could just kind of keep in mind, you know, helping others without expecting anything in return, just being, you know, a nice person generally. So, you know, a lot of the illustrations there, they were looking for something that was more in a New Yorker style, where it's very black and white, watercolor wash, grayscales, and things like that. So to me, that was kind of an exciting challenge to just kind of maybe let's try this out and see what happens. So I'm not sure how many of these I'm supposed to show, but I'm just going to flip through them real quick.
We
These
won't
are
tell
just kind
anybody.
of these are just kind of some of the illustrations that go per chapter. So this one just kind of showing like how, you know, every you have a certain amount of water, and you, depending on how you allocate that water, your results are going to just kind of show. So if you put a lot of money towards your career, well, look what happens to your health. Things like that, like, you know, ways to just kind of illustrate his points. There's some aliens. I got to draw alien robots. And it was refreshing because the whole time, you know, Richard was also pushing towards a lot of diversity in the illustrations. So that was always fun to throw into. As somebody with a long name, I could relate to this one.
These are
I like drawing
amazing.
animals.
Yeah, so fun.
Yeah.
I like that you have you know, so many different styles, you know, like you're doing different styles for Inktober and different styles for this illustration. I think that's dope.
Yeah, definitely, you know, like so back in the Secret Asian Man days, a lot more high production style, so something that I can crank out a lot of, so not overly rendered, but you know, and I haven't drawn Sam in quite a while, but you know, definitely something I want to kind of revisit in the future. So
So you
but
think you
maybe-
may go back to Secret Asian Man someday?
if I do, it'd be in a very different format. Yeah, I think I kind of want to do a little more long form, because I missed that, and it, you know, it kind of thrived and lived in a strip format.
Mhm.
So to take that into more of a story arc, I think would be an interesting switch, and kind of balance out the simple line art with a little bit more rendered stuff, and have a little more fun with it like that. So,
That would be cool.
We'll see.
I'd love to see that.
Yeah.
Awesome. So can you just maybe say a few words about Comics in Color?
Yeah, I mean, what was that? A year and a half ago, something like that.
Yeah.
Going to the event, which was great. You know, to have events like this, you know, like it was said earlier, like Joel was saying, very important to have these kind of events. And, you know, and while in the back of my head, it's one of those events that I wish we didn't, you know, was a natural thing rather than like kind of its own thing. And, you know, there's just Comic Con and everything is just, you know, the way it should be, versus
Right.
feeling like there's a need to do this. But, you know, in the transition, I think things like this are critical. And as far as building community and just, you know, gathering support from, you know, across lots of ethnicities is definitely key. So plus you hear really individualized stories And to me, the most individualized stories are the most widely not accepted, but widely understood, because you would think that a story about just your own specific thing about that you might think is purely just related to you or your race, you tell that story and suddenly everybody chimes in and says, you know what, that happened to me too. And that kind of helps break down barriers. So it's definitely important to do.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Tak, for
Yeah.
coming and sharing your stuff with us. That was really amazing. If you don't mind, you could put the your
Oh, yeah.
info in the chat so everybody can check your stuff out more online. And yeah, it's great.
There you go.
Thank you
Thanks
so much.
Yeah.
So I think next we'll move on to Gene because I know he has limited time here. So I'm gonna pin
Thank
you
you.
there. Go for
So,
it.
well, I do paint and I do draw, but I do more digital work. I'm a YouTuber, and my channel is called Caps Off Gaming with Technish, and I've always wanted to do this for like a very long time. Right now I'm in year 4 of doing this right now, and I always wanted to like tell my story in terms of gaming and how it influenced me like growing up. Especially like I grew up in Mattapan, and and I've always that was like gaming was always a big thing for me. I played sports a lot, so I always had that competition spirit that was always in me, but I didn't normally would like to play like sports games and stuff like that. Like all my friends would. Like I would, just in the fact of um trying to like be close to my friends and everything. But my biggest thing was just like the stories that were developing in the game and how I could be like this protagonist and actually be this person in their shoes and take on their roles and their struggles and everything like that. And I always wanted to like portray that. Now I'm 40, I'm going to be 43 next month, March 24th. And if you saw me in person, I don't really look like that, but in terms of how like people perceive me, like I might be like a really like goofy person and stuff like that. But then with and then also in my age bracket, like with when it comes to gaming, like there's a lot of like misconceptions when it came to that. I wasn't someone that was stuck in my mom's basement and I stood there in the basement and was quiet and everything like that. I was really outgoing and everything like that. But this was one thing that I really wanted to share, but I never really got a chance to. And then now with like YouTube technology and everything and just editing software, I'm really now not just showing gameplay but telling a story that goes along with it. I really like telling stories that relate to games, that I've played or games that I am playing. Like, oh, I remember that. Most recently, I did a video talking about an 8th grade trip where we went camping to Plum Island. Plum Island is part of the Harbor Islands out there in Boston Harbor. And I talked about how when we went on this trip, it was fun at first. And then at night we played Manhunt, and then we were supposed to go to sleep. So then we go to sleep, and then what happens is that they had, I think there was like some kids from Hull, they came on the other side of the island, and then they had like a big kegger with a huge bonfire, and they were just screaming like, yeah, stuff like that. I was so frightened. Like I was so frightened during that time. I didn't sleep that whole night. So the reason I bring it up is because I watched the movie Blair Witch, right? The first one, not the remakes or anything like that. And then I ended up finding out that there was a game that was related to that. So I ended up started playing the game. So as I'm playing the game, I'm telling the story as I'm going through it. And yeah. and it's hard to play and tell a story at the same time. It is really hard. It's really hard. And then yeah, it's really hard to do that. And I end up having to come up with a second video to kind of flesh out the story even more. But one of the biggest things that I always do is that every Black History Month, I always do a video about like people of color in video games. So I always do that. Now I'm on vacation now. That's why I gotta leave a little early, is because I gotta start recording assets and everything. I've already started writing a script for the video and everything like that. My last video last year was Black cinema and games. So I really went back into Black cinema, as in the old school Shaft, Foxy Brown, Dolomite, and everything. I went all the way back there, and then there was a game called Marlo Briggs and the Mask of Death. And the presentation when I played that game, it was probably a long time ago. I've been teaching for 19 years. I'm teaching in high school right now. I teach biology, but I've also taught in middle school too as well. While I was teaching in middle school, I worked at GameStop. In Fields Corner. I was right there. I don't know if any of y'all probably remember me if you go in there, but I was there. And with those privileges, I got to play a lot of games. And I played this game, Marlo Briggs and the Mask of Death. And when we came up to last year during Black History Month, I remember that game. I was like, oh, I have to do that. And I pull a lot of references from the movies and then also parallel them with what's going on in the game too as well. And it's one of my favorites. It's one of my favorites and everything. So
You definitely got to put the name of that game in the chat because I want to
okay.
check that. If it's got Dolomite and Foxy Brown and stuff in it, I definitely want to see
it
that.
is. I'm telling you, I'm not even playing. And I'm serious about it. That's the thing. And I'm serious about it. And what's really good about my channel is that I have friends that are my age that still watch the channel and everything, but a lot of my students will watch it, and I keep it PG. Like I keep it PG. I'm not cursing or being a hype clown or anything like that. I'm just going through my experience, but like I'm really genuine when it comes to that. I don't fake the funk, if you want to say it like that. Like I just don't fake the funk at all. So yeah, so I did that video, and I think the really coolest part is when I'm actually pulling it together and editing the video, transitions between one clip and the other, maybe adding the memes or quotes or stuff like that. I think I try to bring this experience where you're literally sitting on the couch next to me, and I'm saying these things to you, versus I'm saying these things to you, and I'm gonna try to capture that feeling, and hopefully like just happened just now is that you may want to play it, take a look at it, and everything like that. So I'm just really honored. I'll talk about I'm just happy that there's a space where I can actually share my stuff and not feel weird about it. Like I think Joel, what you said earlier in terms of like of growing up and liking these things that are totally different than your neighborhood, like totally different than your neighborhood. I play sports, but I do this. But I like this too, but I play sports, but I can like this too. But then, people try to separate you from that and everything. And I'm not in a box. Like, I'm not in a box. And I'm pretty sure everyone here and on the Zoom is not in a box. And I think it's really important that we have spaces like this to be able to express ourselves in our fullest way possible, because that's we're living only as like a half a person almost, and I'm not about that. Like I'm not about that at all. So yo, I just appreciate the space, like I really do. And you see this is my background when I'm recording and stuff like that with the Deadpool. I love Deadpool.
I love that.
And everything.
You got Miss Green standing behind you too, which is
yo, y'all watch Discovery? Have you watched this? My favorite, yo. It's my favorite, man. And my boy put me onto that, who helped me with my intros and everything. But yeah, I'm really honored to do that. I'll put my contact information. I have a YouTube channel. I also have a Facebook channel. I also have a Twitter as well, where I usually post like videos or post I post updates if I post the video, and I also stream on Mondays. Well, it's vacation week this week for myself, so I'll probably stream it earlier, but normally throughout the week, I'll stream around like 8 o'clock on Mondays.
So, and is that all on YouTube?
Yeah, that's all on YouTube. Like I don't do Twitch. I figured that my my people's is on YouTube, so I'll just stay right there and do that. Yeah.
That makes sense. Dope. Well, thank you so much for adding on, man. I appreciate it. And everybody check out Caps Off Gaming. You know what I mean? We get, have a whole separate thing about gaming, man, because that's a whole nother world. And I'm glad we got you to, tell us about it, which is dope.
Thank you. Appreciate it, man.
Yes. All right, cool. Make sure you put your contact info in the chat there so everybody can get that.
Absolutely.
Awesome. And we'll move on to our next artist, who is going to be Mr. Jam Sketchboom. You're on mute, bro.
Dome. What's up?
Dome.
Can you hear me, guys? Can you hear me?
See, that's the insider. That's the insider.
Oh man, how's it going, guys?
Is that a 3D printer behind you?
Oh man, hold on.
Okay. I don't want to get you off topic, but
no.
You don't have to talk about that.
Check this out, right? I'm trying to keep still with this. So, my brother-in-law, by accident, he knocked this one over a while back, and it broke down. Cool, whatever. Family, it's cool. He felt bad. He's like, "Nah, Jam, I'm getting you a new one." So Christmas comes along. He gives me the biggest one they could find, right? And so I'm ready to throw this one away, and I'm like, you know what? Let me see if this works before. And all of a sudden, this R2 unit comes back to life. So now I got like a little 3D print, like little factory going on.
We gonna have to talk, man. I got some ideas.
Oh my God! Listen, we do have to talk. Cagen. I got a few things.
Oh, absolutely.
But how's it going, folks? Jam Sketch. Before we start, I just want to give some shout outs at it. There's Nick Sketch, is my son right there.
Hi.
he's going off on what you playing now, bud.
I was playing Fortnite.
Fortnite.
Mom's making me do work.
It's all right. You gotta do a mom setup.
Mom!
You gotta do that. You gotta get those points. Get those mom points in, man.
Absolutely.
I just want to get some shout outs though. Cagen, dude, Professor Vex. These two guys. Now a lot of folks don't know this. Back in the day, I was doing my sketches. I quit my job. It was scary. I was like, dude, I'm gonna go full artist. I got a family. This is crazy. I shouldn't even be doing this. This is nuts. But my wife is supportive. She's an artist too. She knows the vibes. She's like, I got you. Let's just make this work. So my very first Comic Con, I'm learning how to set up shop. I had a little table in the back, and I'll never forget it. And shout out Tack. Shout outs to you, baby. I look at this all the time before I start sketching.
Yes.
So it's weird that we're all in this little, because I met Cagen, I met Professor Vex, Barrington, and Tack, and that was my first. I won this that day, and that really to me solidified. All right, someone likes this stuff that I'm doing. Somebody out there likes this enough. And that really kind of gave birth to the whole, okay, I'm gonna do a YouTube, I'm gonna get an Instagram. I'm gonna really throw my net as far as I can with this whole art thing.
So Todd can take all the credit for all your success then. It's all on you, Todd.
It's in the mail, Todd. Once I blow up, you wait, But no, I gotta give shout out to you guys. Cagen, what you and Barrington do is like, I mean, everyone before me has already said it. It's just like the Xavier Institute for for the type of mutants that we are, So
I love that
it,
analogy.
Just like Joel said, like the ones I miss, it really like, man, I miss comics in color, man. Damn it. It was really that type of vibe, So I try to make it to as many as possible. It's just food for the soul. It just feels good to see its inspiration. So yeah, shout out to all that, man. Shout out to all you guys who are doing it, all that stuff. But as for me, what I've been up to, it's kind of a good news, bad news, good news sandwich, right? So like Gene was talking about with the gaming, I'm a huge gamer, man. Huge. I'm a huge gamer. Fighting games have always been my jam. The Street Fighters, the Mortal Kombat, the Marvel vs. Capcoms, the Tekken, Soul Caliburs.
Rainbows!
Dude, those are my jams, dude. Smash Brothers, I'll play, But the other ones are my jams. So my dream was always to, and I got a big love for comics and animation and all that, just like the rest of us. So like, dude, I'm gonna make a franchise. I'm gonna call it Rumble Buddies. It's gonna be a comic book and a video game. Now I can draw. So I'm like, okay, I can do the comic thing. I can at least draw some in sequence. I know that. So this video game thing was brand new to me. So I'm like, all right, I'm still gonna do it. It can't be that hard. I got Google. I can just look up tutorials and slap some stuff together, dude. And Barrington warned me early on. He's like, man, you sure you just don't want to do the comic, man? And I'm like, dude, I got this, man. I got YouTube. I can just look this up. and nah, dude. But it put me on a journey though. And I slowly started learning about like UVs and like 3D programs, Unreal Engine versus Unity, like all kinds of stuff. So now I'm at a point where I'm actually working for a company, for Harmonix Studios. And they hired me. And the biggest thing they said was, they said, yeah, we saw you had a YouTube channel. And they said, so we saw your work, we liked your work, but then we saw your YouTube channels and your videos. And it just shows how when you put the bricks together to build, it's gonna turn into something like, you might not even know where it's going, Because I thought the game industry was just like, I could peek in, like I could peek in as a fan and that's it. I'll never be in there to like, but no, they got to me, man, through the YouTube.
Wow.
And it's cool. Now that's the good news. The bad news is though, now my personal stuff is taking a step back because now I'm sketching for Harmonix, but I'm also gaining knowledge working with these guys, and they're showing me how to create characters in games, 3D characters. I'm getting the knowledge to even make my own stuff, on the side. So that leads to the good news, making the sandwich, that now I'm back on my own stuff on the side, getting back to making my videos, back to my own personal art, back to Rumble Buddies. So that stuff is back on track. I think I found a nice balance to juggle it all. And so yeah, that's what I've been up to. So I guess I don't have anything recent to show. I guess I can show some work, but I don't have anything recent to show, only because it's all for that company. So I can't even talk about it. They made me sign the NDA and all that.
As long as it's between like when you were featured and now, you can show it. I understand you can't show your Harmonix work, and that's fine. I'm very happy. I
will say this,
by the way.
Oh, very thank happy. You. I will say this project. I'm just gonna say this as a hint. This project, I think everyone in this room would enjoy once this game comes out. It is like the culture is just intertwined. Like, oh man, dude, it gives you the shakes. It gives me the Alabama shakes just thinking about it, man.
And I'm never gonna stop asking you about Rumble Buddies, so you better get on it.
Oh no, Listen, I'm gonna be low key. Comics and Color is a constant reminder, like Jam, you need to be doing Rumble Buddies. It's a constant reminder, like, yo, you should be doing. Everybody comes to show their work. Like you see guys like Joe Gill, you're like, all right, man. I gotta get on my Joe Gill and put out a book a month, baby. I gotta get that going. So that's where the inspiration from these meetings come in for sure, man. But I don't know, man. Do you guys want to see some work? Like,
Yeah.
is that cool? I'll show some stuff
Absolutely
real
wanna
quick.
see
Let me see if I could let me see screen share.
You need to share? Okay, let me give you the permission.
Oh yeah. My apologies, Cagen.
Did I have the permissions? Yes. Oh no, Joel's
Oh,
still
Mod
host.
is in the house.
Joel, you're still the host, buddy. Can you pass it back to me? And can you let Pata in too? He just hit me up and said he's trying to get in. Yeah, for some reason it's not letting you.
Here, I'm gonna make sure that everybody can share. Hold on.
Yeah, you know how to do that? You got to teach me how to do that.
It's just go down to the little green button to the little arrow to the right hand side, and you click it, and it says one participant share at a time.
Ah, there we go. There we go.
I should really learn that stuff.
In the meantime, y'all see that? Yo, y'all see that WandaVision?
Oh man, so good.
I haven't
Can
watched-
I talk about it? Can I?
So good. Like,
Yo,
No.
I haven't seen it all.
Who hasn't seen it before coming on here?
Hold on.
Okay,
No
okay. I ain't gonna say nothing. I ain't gonna
I
say
hear no
nothing.
spoilers.
Tonight, okay, stop
Okay.
it.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I ain't gonna.
You're right there.
Y'all was the one that got me on it. Y'all was the one that got me on it.
Okay, please
Yo,
don't do that.
Speak about
That
it,
show- that
Delane.
show-
Speak about it. I'm with you, Jam. I'm with you,
I'm
Jam.
gonna chill. I'm
with
gonna chill.
Okay,
I'm gonna chill. I'm gonna chill. I'm gonna say that show is wild. That show's bananas right now. Man.
yeah, man.
Oof.
I can, yeah.
Oh, good.
It went to where I'm gonna move on. Yo, okay, here's some work, guys. Here's some stuff. Oh, yes, this is perfect. Okay, shameless plug, real quick.
That's what's all about.
So, let's get that shameless plug out the way. My family, my wife, my son, we decided to join forces, form our own type of Voltron, and do sketch rogues, right? And you can hit this up. If you go to Instagram, you'll find us. I think on Facebook, Fruit Loops, Golden Grams, or on everything. We're gonna get as much content as possible out. And the YouTube channel is coming with that very soon. So be on the lookout for that. For the anniversary, I had to put this up.
Oh,
I had to put this up. Cagen gave me the honor of coming up with like some original superheroes for Comics and Color. And I'm like, man, and this was a blast, man.
you
This
killed
was
it,
like-
man. You killed it.
There's a partner video coming very soon for this. And yeah, this was just nuts. I loved it, man. What else we got?
My son
here?
thinks you should call it Coleman Force, though, not Cagen Force.
Okay.
I'm not saying
Yeah,
you should
I'm like-
change it. I'm just saying that's what
Because your name, your name just hits nice like Cagen. Cagen
it
sounds.
rolls off the tongue, baby.
If there were a Street Fighter named Cagen, you could like imagine just some like dude, I'm picking Cagen, man.
Yes.
So it's a sick name. But Coleman's not bad either. What else? Chucky Pennywise. This was a commission back in the day. Big horror fan of mine. Imagine what if little Georgie was Chucky, you know? he assumed Pennywise would have a bit of a harder time with getting his meals, I should say. What else we got here? Ahmad, he's in a room somewhere. My man got one of the sickest styles. He gave me the honor of like sketching his characters in my style, and that was another blast. It was
Super
sick.
dope.
You got to check his stuff out when you got the chance, guys. Ahmad, but if you got a link to your stuff, put it in the chat,
I
baby.
really don't. I actually don't. But I'm hoping
Nope.
I'll get to that.
Listen, well, I'm gonna keep telling people to look it up anyway until it happens.
Just be inspired, homie. You got it.
Because his stuff is good. Your stuff is good, man. I'm also a big hip hop head, of course. And one of my favorite Biggie songs Just him, the way he approached his track was just nuts to me. So, and it always like just amped me up just hearing it. So I had to like draw a little dedication joint for the notorious one.
Nice.
What else we got? Donnie, Ninja Turtles all day, every day. Yeah, just like that. Donnie. I meant to do the other guys. I did a rap one. I can't find it though, somewhere. This was one of the sketches that got me the harmonics job. They really like how my approach to this. They said there's a YouTube video for this, and they watched that video. So I guess because they're known for their music games, Rock Band, Guitar Hero. So they saw I had a big love for hip hop and like DJs, Team Jerk, some good guys.
DJ Hero.
You know, yeah, man. Oh yeah, DJ Hero. Yep. Forgot about DJ Hero. Yeah. Old school, man. What else?
You know, this is kind of like the event. That was kind of like the Avengers, but with seasoning.
Jacob coming through with the hotness.
Oh, yes, homie.
Yo. I gotta go back. I gotta go back and put that right under the title, man.
Put that there.
The Avengers, but with seasoning, coming this summer. We gotta call Kevin Feige and talk about that.
Absolutely, he needs to hear it.
This got the attention of Questlove himself on the Instagram. I was watching Jimmy Fallon late at night, and they showed a clip of a lady on The Weakest Link, the game show. And so the question was simple, like, oh, what is the real name of the gentleman who drums for the Roots? And the lady's like, I don't know, Fred Flintstone? And it just ripped me apart. I was dying. I was like, dude, I gotta draw that, man. And you know, Jimmy Fallon, all the Roots are just laughing at Questlove. I was like, dude, I gotta sketch that up. That is hilarious. That she went to that for an answer will always boggle my mind. But yeah, Questlove got back to me. It was a moment. I'm like, yo, Questlove's like chatting with me, though. This is nuts.
That's amazing.
I was like, yo, can I join the Roots? And I'll try to get in there, but what else we got? Rumble Buddies. Still out there. During my little break from the comic, though, and you guys could, like, I don't know, maybe I was looking at the style, and just to be more time sensitive, I was like, what if I went with a less painterly style, and a more like flat, like we saw Moon Girl and Double Dinosaur earlier. You know what I mean? That type of vibe.
Yeah.
Like it'll still have the energy I want. It'll probably be quicker for me to do. So I don't know. We'll see. I mean, Rumble Buddies might be going through a slight transformation. It's still on the menu though. It's for sure. Like it's too. Look at that. These pages don't even have words yet, man. I'm so early in the game.
It looks great though.
But I'll get there. Sure enough. The cast of Rumble Buddies, you know, sticking up for what's right. I had to throw that in there. What else we got? Just some fan art. This was a little fan art challenge that went on around Instagram a while back. Another video. This was a YouTube video that Harmonic said that got their attention as well. And what's the last one? And this just I have a lot of chef friends from my former job, and one of them said going to work is like a battle. He's like, it's like I'm fighting food every day, man. He's like, Jam, draw that for me. Draw me just fighting food, man. Can you do that for me? And this was that drawing, and I just liked it so much. I don't know. I have a. This is on the favorites list out of some of the sketches I've done. But yeah, that's it, man. I mean, that's all I got for now. I guess moral of the story is just keep at it, dude. Keep at it. Guys like Cagen, guys like Todd, Barrington, you guys show me that like Cagen puts out his strip at like all the time. Like I wait for it. I can't wait to see that. I remember when I was bouncing at the bars, Tack, Secret Asian Man used to have. I used to go to the dig just to look for. I used to just skip everything and go straight to Secret Agent Man. That was just like my little thing, my own personal like word. All right, Secret Agent Man, got it. Then I'll just put the dig away somewhere. Then I end up reading the whole dig because of Secret Agent Man. So eventually it just grew out into the entire book. And
shout out to the dig.
I see Vex doing Professor Vex just dropping knowledge on the young minds out there and the old minds. I'll be out there taking notes. So yeah, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it.
We appreciate you,
so
man.
Please, hey, yeah. What can I say about comics in color? Like, it's a bolt of lightning every time. Like it hits me every time. There's a new meeting's coming up, a new event. I'm down, man. I'm down. I love seeing you guys. I love seeing all the creations, man. Shaanti with the animations. I was peeping those, man. Oh. What are they, cutouts? Like the way you do it?
Cut and paste, just moving them.
Oh, that's nuts, man.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Coming from you, Jam, that's big. That's big.
Yeah, man.
The work that you have, sir.
Please, man.
You did it.
All this love. I love it.
I'm gonna close out with this though. I'm learning enough from the game world that I'm feeling a lot more comfortable. I see a lot of characters in comics in color. Smash Brothers has a lot of characters. I'm thinking, what if we could have, one day, maybe I'll get a team together. Maybe I'll get some coders, some programmers. We can have some, a little bit of a couple of your characters versus a couple of, get a little thing.
Oh,
I don't know. I'm gonna keep that in the. I'm gonna plant that seed now.
The comics and colors
and just do my homework. Super Comics and Color Smash Bros.
Yeah,
we'll see.
You have to come up with a better name, but
hey, yo, Jam. Do you ever do Blender game engine?
Blender, because Blender was super free, I got more familiar with that first. Because the other programs are like they're asking for a lot, so you got to like save up a bit just to even get a ZBrush. But no, Blender, I was digging Blender first before Maya and all that. And I was digging them. I love them all, man. You could get good results with each one, different results with each one.
Yo, because if you're talking about like a low-key game, I'm saying that's nothing but a thing.
Oh no, yeah. Oh yeah, we can all get Blender. You're right.
All right, sounds like some collaboration starting already. I like it.
Oh,
that's dope.
Oh, the goosebumps, man. Oh my God.
Well, I can't wait to see what's next. I can't wait to see your work at Harmonix, see what you're doing with that. I think that's going to be fresh, man. So dope. Thank you so much, Jam, for adding on. Make sure you put your information, your YouTube link and all that in the chat so folks can check it out. Really watch Jam's videos. They're like live draw videos, but very funny. You're just these weird moments. That's where the dum comes from. I enjoy that. Joel, one more time. Can you try to pass me back the host? It still has you listed as the host.
I was just looking at how to do that.
I think you just click on my name and do the more, and I think that should be able to pass it back.
Oh, there we go.
Cool. Thank you, sir. So next, great. Thank you so much. Next, I would like Mr. Jonathan Todd to tell us about what he's been up to.
Oh, hello, everybody. It's great to be here. Hey, Joel. Hey, guys. I wanted to start with the comics in color. Give us a couple of August 2019, I think, or around the spring of June, like 2019.
Yes.
But by inviting me to share about my work, it made me feel like I was producing comics like at a prestigious level that warranted an invitation. And so, it was an extra honor, coming from having the invitation from the epic community I'm a part of, and it gave me an opportunity to like earn some street cred. So it felt like, it's like if you make it at the Apollo, then you've made it. So I felt really honored. So
wow, that's really awesome. We got street cred.
Yeah.
Definitely.
For me, I've been doing a lot of drawing.
Wow.
I reached 200 pages of my graphic novel. It's out of 261. So that's what I've been doing. About
Yes.
3.5 hours
Yo,
a day.
what?
Yeah.
Yes.
When I was invited, I brought the thumbnails of my whole graphic novel that I've been honestly, I started the story idea from this 10 years ago, so it's been a long gestation process. So then I've been after that. So for thumbnails, I start, of course, with my thumbnails. These are some thumbnails from my book called Timid, by the way. It was inspired by I started at Dorchester. I saw Barrington. You live on Capen Street? Yeah, Capen. Yeah. So I lived on Fairmount Street, and but at 7 we moved to South Florida, and then that's where I got into comics. And then in 7th grade, I came up and we moved to Wellesley, Massachusetts. So it was like a culture shock coming. Well, more so going from South Florida to Wellesley. And so this book was inspired by that, just feeling awkward and everything. So anyway, so that's coming out. It was supposed to be out spring 2021, but it's been a learning process, just drawing and editing and everything. So it's going to come out spring 2023. So started with my thumbnails. Then I do a lot of get a lot of photo references, like from selfies, and Google Images. I don't know how people do graphic novels without Google Images. And then I'm old school, so then I got get penciling. This is going to be spread penciling, and then my finished page is just inked, old school.
J Todd, can I just say I love your comic layouts. It's very, very amazing and very, very inspiring. I definitely appreciate your work that you're showing.
Oh, thank you so much. Oh man, I was telling my son, who's a very talented writer, and he's actually on the call too. I feel like I'm more of a writer than an artist. I mean, I'm looking at this amazing visual work, and I'm like, that's not me, but I like telling the story through graphic narratives. So, and that's why it's hard work, but it's like working out, So drawing 200 pages has helped me feel better about drawing.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I am about maybe a third, almost halfway there with my comic book currently. So slowly trudging along.
Yeah. Who's this speaking? I'm trying to go through.
That's Jameson.
Okay. Oh. Okay. Cool. Okay. Oh, okay. Thank you so much for those kudos. Wow. So let's see. So then after that, the learning curve has been scanning and then cleaning it up. So working with the graphic designer, he's like, oh no, you gotta magnify it to 100%, then take it all the little dots. So that process.
So much work. Oh my God, that's so much work.
5.5 hours. It was taking me longer to do that than actually draw the page. So that's where the learning curve and most of the delay in the publication is at, to get that, so then it'll be ready for the colorist. So in addition to just doing my book, I mean, I have a day job too. I did I do this strip for the American Library Association. They have an association Association for Library Service to Children. It's a journal. So I do an autobiographical script for them, just about what it's like to be a graphic novelist and a family man. So it's just quarterly, so it's not too bad. And so I've been doing that. I've been teaching workshops. Occasionally I've been teaching through Zoom. I had been going into libraries and teaching, but I figured out how to do it via Zoom. So I only do about 2 of those a month because I'm spending my time drawing. But yeah, that's just what I've been up to. Just drawing a lot. Thanks.
That's awesome, man. It's awesome to see how much work you put into what was once called Cecil's World, right? I see you changed the title, but I feel like the that awkwardness that you're talking about, that kind of was inspiration for it. I feel like that's something we all can identify with. You know what I mean? Being the new kid in school, being from a different culture. I feel like we've all experienced that at some time. So that's super dope, man.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Excited that you've gotten so much work done. I mean, it looks like you've gotten a significant amount of work done in the past year and a half or so.
Yeah, so I have this autobiography strip is about how I do it. Like I get up early in the morning. It's about 5 a.m. first of all, and then my lunch hour I do it, and then after the kids go to bed, so it all equals up to about 3.5 hours, and that's about how much it takes to draw and ink one page.
Yes.
Excuse me. Could you talk? Because I'm one of those visual people who likes to draw a lot. I just draw. You're a writer. Could you tell me about the writing process and breaking those panels down? Just like real quick, if you could, just give a brother a quick lesson.
Yeah. So actually, I didn't know how to do long stories. I was a comic strip guy. At first, I was an editorial cartoonist guy, and so that's how I kind of learned to draw. So then I did comic strips, but I didn't know how to do long stories. So actually, I went to an MFA program in creative writing. Because I'm like, I felt like I had a strong idea, but my first graphic novel, I couldn't get any publisher to take a look at. I drew 50 pages. I was like, what am I doing wrong? So when she told me everything that wasn't working, I'm like, man, I got to go back to school. So I went to there's a low residency program right in Chestnut Hill called Solstice, and it's a graduate program at Pine Manor College. So, but you can keep your day job and you work one-on-one with a published writer through the semester, and then a week in the winter and a week in the summer, you go on campus and you workshop stories and you learn the craft of writing long form. So that's kind of what I had to do. But to break it down, and this is what I teach the kids that my workshops is, you start with the protagonist and they have to want something. But then there's these obstacles that get in the way. So then in the writing process, you're showing how they get through or each obstacle, and it culminates in an event, and then hopefully they're learning something and they grow along the way. So that's like the basic of how to do most stories. And so, so for my character, the main problem is he has trouble fitting in, and then there's different subplots on, on how he makes friends. So yeah, it's you got to have just the idea for the main story arc and the obstacles, so the character wanting something and then what the obstacles are, and then you just write through it, get through the draft. I write all mine out in prose first, then you workshop, you get other people to read it and give you feedback on what they're getting from the text. So some at times it takes someone else to see how the story is working for them. You do that about 2 or 3 times, and then the story gets more solid. And then from there, then I go into my thumbnails. And so, yeah, that's my process. I'm sure everyone else has other process, but I had to learn how to tell long stories.
No, thank you. Because they're breaking it down like that makes sense. Going from the editorial form first with 3-panel comic type things, then working that into a full page is something I can try to handle. Because right now, when I try to do the long form, I get lost. Writing is difficult.
Yeah,
I give you props too. Writing is difficult.
Yeah. So yeah, I would just write the whole story out in prose first. Another thing, because I feel like I'm naturally a writer, I feel like I get more, because I'm naturally a writer, I get more details in. So then when I go to draw it, I can draw the details. Like, so if I remember that, oh, this kid really liked Twix candy bars, that'll get in. Whereas before I wouldn't, if I was just drawing it, I wouldn't think about the details like Twix candy bars or liking Fig Newtons, things like that. So that's, for me, that's how it works.
That's awesome and great advice about writing. And if y'all are watching the chat, there's a couple other more information about writing in there that y'all can check out too. But Jonathan, thank you so much for coming and adding on and tell us what you've been up to. And you had street cred before you came to Comics Color. So just FYI, we're very excited to have you there. So we're very excited to have you here today. And I'll be talking to you soon because we might want to talk about Comics of Color Festival, about maybe do some kind of workshop there or something.
Okay, yeah, no, hit me up. I have to go in a little while. I have to actually walk my dog, and tend to some family matters. But it's so great seeing everybody, and thank you for having me. I'll
Thank
put
you
my
so
contact
much.
information in the chat though.
Thank you very much.
I gotta go.
Awesome.
I gotta
All
go.
right, next. Gotta head out.
Yeah, I gotta go. I'll see y'all.
All right, Joel. Thanks for coming in.
Joel.
Next, we're gonna have. I would like to
Thank you,
have
Joe.
Shaanti talk a little bit about what
Oh,
he's been up to.
To follow up with that. Okay. How you guys doing? I'm gonna be a little slow with this. Can I share my screen?
I think Joel set it up so everybody could share. So give it a try, and if
Well, let
not,
me
then
try
we'll
that.
figure that out.
Because before I talk about myself or anything like that, there's
Yeah,
not
multiple.
that deep.
Yeah, you should be able to share.
Let me see. All right, let's see. Am I
All right,
sharing?
sharing. Yep. You can see your desktop.
Okay. First, I've got Devs Edwards up. I wanted to shout out Devs, Danny Edwards. That's Professor Vex's brother. Thank you.
There it is.
Thank you, dude. Honestly, thank you. That's the one biggest thing I wanted to do coming here because he's actually one of the creators of What Good. All right. This is like 20 years ago. Mr. Williams, I graduated from Rhode Island School of Design, came up to Boston, got a job. Let me get some of my work up. Did the job first at Mirror Image. It was a silkscreen factory. And they actually produced the shirts, and I'm just looking for my work real quick. They actually produced the shirts for the Patriots in 2001 and 2002 and 2003, if that means anything to anybody. So I was there for that. That was my exposure to Boston and Boston's flavor. You know what I mean? After that, I heard somebody talking about Fields Corner. So after that, I went up to Fields Corner and worked in a detention and youth services for a little bit, for about 4 years, and really got to know the community of Boston through that. Really got to meet a lot of, Boston, know people. But let me just get some work up so I could show some stuff. But the biggest thing, just to talk about comics and color real quick, it's been a way for someone like me, honestly, a big nerd, admittedly, big nerd, you know what I mean? And coming to new areas and being able to meet other people who have that niche type of interest that I have, you know what I mean? And that's being in comics, that's being in the visual arts, ladies and gentlemen, you understand? It's like stuff that other people don't actually always appreciate, So it's like, for a worker like me, I would work almost like, I work in a closet almost, you know what I'm saying? Where I create. Every day I work, every day I draw, you know what I'm saying? But you don't have anybody to show it to. So it's like when I met you guys and I met a group of artists that were actually in the process of creating, in the process of publishing, you know what I mean? Because, after DYS, I moved over to Boston Renaissance Charter Public School, all right up in Hyde Park. First, downtown Boston, right on Park Street. Then we moved up to Hyde Park. And my director of visual and performing arts, Miss Evelyn Lee, you know what I mean? I have a great boss, you know what I mean? I have a great job. I have great kids, my students, I love them. But because of that, I really didn't actually leave the school. You know what I mean? I only really dealt in school, So hearing you people, everybody doing all this work, everybody going out, getting published, I want to use this opportunity kind of come back to the community if you guys let me come back, you know what I mean? I remember giving pieces to Tack Toyashima when he worked at the Weekly Dig, and I had one cover on the dig. He won't remember it because it was sketchy. It was cut and paste. It was my style, But like, that's the thing. I actually have a history with this place, and I really want to create some work out of it. But let me get some comics on real quick. And like I tell my kids when I teach, I teach K-6, ladies and gentlemen, and that's why I keep going, ladies and gentlemen. At any time, please, you can take yourself off mute. Please say something, because if not, I'll just keep talking. You know what I mean? So let me get some work up so we can talk about it.
Yeah, man. So tell us, like, what is what good?
All right, what good? All right, what good is it's like I said, Danny was like a big influence on me, and what good was a response to the Edwards family being the king of the wall, spray painting in the wall, and I came from art school where it was all about draftsmanship and painting and things like that, and he told me to go to the wall, and he challenged me and said, you don't have spray can paint skills, and I didn't. And what I did have was I had a marker, and I would put what good on the wall, and to be able to hang out with them whenever I went around, I would put up what good. And 20 years later, a brother's still doing it. So yeah, why I do it, I can't answer you. When I did it, I can, if that matters. Right here, but this is what good. What good is also the work that I do during the school vacations.
I love this one.
Music by Strove. Strove from Intellectual Wizardry. All right, a DJ group in Boston. A DJ over.
So dope.
And yeah, that's how I did it. That's why I have my hand in it. It's literally like these cardboard pieces that I make, and like you move them a little bit, stop, take a picture, move a little bit, stop, take a picture. And that's what I've taught my students. That's what, like, I teach kindergarten, really. You know what I mean? And the reason that there's Doom up right now is because I'm a big MF Doom fan. And I've been one for another 20 years. I've been an MF Doom fan. So out of Marvel Comics, MF Doom is Doom is a personal character for me now.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
He's just like, because you break it down, he's supposed to be a villain. You know what I mean? He's the king of Laturvia or whatever, and he cares about his people. And most of his problems with other people is when they mess with his land and his sovereignty. But he's a horrible dude too. He also
he's still a villain.
He's a horrible
for sure.
villain.
I just like how this is so different, like, and it's like it's a fine art practice. You create the characters, you make the joints where they can move. I really, really enjoy this work.
I call it archaic. It's like, it's old. It's like,
It is. It's an older style, but still dope though.
The idea first came from like shadow puppet theater, Balinese, and you got to help me out. I'm an educator, but you guys always have to help me out with my vocabulary and things. But turn Vlad off. The thing is, I took it from those old styles because I figured like even some of my students who have graduated had gone on and moved on to animation, and they had moved way past me. I've been at that school for 20 years. And like things have changed in 20 years. So I had students, I was using like Director 8.5, if anybody remembers that program. Yeah.
Yes,
anybody
I remember
zip drives, dogs? Anybody remember zip drives? Yeah. So I was doing that. And then like later on, my kids came back and they're doing stuff like that Mr. Williams can't do. So it's like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna get to the old school and stick there. Because, you guys have passed me. But like I still teach foundations, the principles of art to the young kids, Let me get one more if you guys don't mind. One more.
Absolutely.
The only reason I want to show this one, ladies and gentlemen, and I said it again, my fault. It's how I talk to my students. The only reason I want to show this is because to the writers like the Bingo and the artist who just talked, oh man, he left to walk his dog.
Jonathan Todd.
Jonathan Todd, thank you. And they were talking about the writing process for making comics. And that's what I really would like to focus on. Because like this is a piece where I tried to write it. It's the story of Amara and Celine from New Mutants. And I have all these pieces for it. I've got all the parts because I followed it from the comic. So I have all the parts of it. But to write those parts and make an original story is definitely harder than I thought. I can come up with the visuals. You know what I mean? I can come up with visuals. I can come up with pictures. Here's my other character about a glutton. His name is Glutton. And so I can come up with visuals, but I do want to.
Wow. That was heavy.
Oh no, it was a pig eating another sausage, which I found funny because I have a juvenile humor. And can I leave with this one? This shows my brother right here. You have Devs, Allie Woodside. This is like one of our big gallery nights. And this is what I want to get back to when this whole COVID thing stops. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why it's my daughter actually walking around the gallery.
Where was this, Shaanti?
And this is when she was like 3. She was like, huh? She was like 6, my fault. And where's Dad? Just 1 second. Is this she's the director, so I had no control of what she's looking at. I told her to try to get some shots of Daddy's work. Bless. I told her to get some shots of Daddy's work, but she got a little more dubs than that. So
it's kind of cool.
It's
kind of cool from her. It's kind of cool from her perspective, like that.
Yeah, I like that.
It was everything for me at that time. And let me get rid of this so you guys don't, because I don't know if I'm showing everybody everything. Except I might be showing you my Patreon because I'm trying to do that. So if you guys can help out and tell brothers how to do that type of stuff, that would be helpful.
Sure. Talk about that. Cool. That's awesome, Shaanti. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you guys for letting me share. And like I said, this is a community, and I'm going to give this back to you, but this is a community, ladies and gentlemen. I almost said it. This is a community, gentlemen, that like, honestly, I'm fixed. They fixed me. This is a community where like, there's not a lot of this, you know, and being able to be around brothers like this and hopefully sisters later. Thank you.
Thank you. And we appreciate you coming and adding on and sharing your work. It's super dope. Make sure you put your YouTube channel and stuff in the chat.
No doubt. Everything's what good. And it's spelled wrong. It's got a U, W-H-U-T.
Well, just throw that in the chat so that people know and can reference it back to it. I'll send out to some folks. If you want to let the screen share go, hit the stop share.
Okay, let me hit stop share. This is where it gets, teachers should know better.
We should all be Zoom experts by now.
Honestly, that's the thing. Usually it has another button on it. Hold on. And sorry about this.
Not a problem.
Hey, yo, Shaanti.
Yes, sir.
You said this is your summer work, right?
This is my summer work.
Do you write grants for the summertime?
No, I don't, sir. Sir,
I got you.
Professor, thank you. Now I got. No, sir, I don't, and that's no, I don't, and I need to start.
Because there's a lot of money out there for like this type of work in the summertime. Like, I mean, or not even summertime, like right now, because I'm kind of looking at your work for a while. I'm like, man, it's like on the border. Like, we talking about shadow puppets.
Mm-hmm.
There's like, do you know the Boston show, the Boston Puppet Showplace Theater, the showplace, the Brookline Showplace Theater, for puppets.
Yes.
Either way, like randomly, just because I hooked up with them while I was teaching, I got a fellowship, a residency with them, and they're connecting me to the Henson Foundation. So I'm saying there's like a lot of opportunities out there for you to expand and get feedback and get more eyes and get more collaboration opportunities like with what you're doing. So I think this is what you're doing is fundable, and there's room for it to kind of move past you and your students right now, because it's every time I see you put stuff up, it's super dope, and I know like it's coming from a really, really, really like beautiful place. So if I can help in that, like let me know. Because
thank you for saying that, sir. Honestly, sir, thank you.
Because I'm in here working on giant puppets right now and like crazy stuff. So you should be like, listen,
Barrington, not to take it up. I've been watching your puppets. I see you build. That's the thing. You're like me. Like when you're not working, you're working, and I enjoy that. I appreciate that. You know what I'm saying? So thank you, thank you.
Man.
When you love what you do, it's never work, right?
It's what we do. It's all I do.
I can't wait to get back to the comics.
Yes.
Cool. Well, thank you,
Have I given
Shaanti.
the share back? Have I given the share back?
Yep, I got you. We're all set. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for this. Thank you.
So next up, I would like to have LJ, who was actually our first ever presenter at Comics in Color. In fact, it was his idea, right? We were just doing just a group of folks coming together and meeting and talking about comics at a library. And LJ was like, can I come talk about my comics? I was like, that's perfect. Yes. And so since then, we've had all of you guys come and be a part of it. So LJ, why don't you tell us what you've been working on?
Yeah, man, absolutely. Well, first off, I got to just come on now at 5 because that's when my class wrapped up. So I got to catch the tail end of what you had going on, Shaanti, and it was really, really cool. And yeah, like, damn, like I'm yeah. I remember one time randomly we just we bumped into each other too, like coming out of an art shop like around Central.
Yes.
But yeah. But
you're another one, sir. Prolific. You do the things like right now, what you're doing with the classes. I'm trying to figure out how to do that. Like, you know what I mean? I'm looking up the technology. I'm trying to figure out, like, there's a program called OutSchool. And I'm looking up, if they can like sponsor. But like, I have no idea what's going on outside. Like, so you're one of those people I follow, sir. So just so you know that. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. And it's
trying to figure out what's going on. That's the perspective I got right here.
Yeah. Like there's so much going on now, but you're legit. You could definitely pull that off. Like I'd love to see like what your own online classes would look like, and you got your whole setup too. But yeah, so it's for me, I've been doing comics for like a while now and everything, and I've been doing them since I was a kid, but I've been getting into teaching comics to kids and stuff like that, and to teenagers and whatnot over the past 3 years. I've been doing it more often, and I've gotten to just learn a lot from doing that and just having those experiences. And like Cagen got to mention a minute ago, I sort of accidentally brought up the idea of guests being part of Comics in Color meetings, and then fortunately he was cool with having me on. Like both Cagen and Barrington got to just welcome me in, and we had a really great time. And then from there, it's gotten to just be such a big thing every single time. So that's why I'm glad that we got to celebrate this anniversary now with a whole bunch of us together. So yeah, it means a lot to be able to just look back. But yeah, so I'm gonna, I guess I'll hop into screen share myself too to share
Go for it.
a couple things. Okay. So one series that I've been doing for a few years is this series called Comicscape. And if, yeah, I think Talk is still here. So to actually rewind a bit, back when I was a kid, when I was a teenager, I was drawing like many of these characters for this series and like figuring it out. And I was telling myself like, oh, one day I'm gonna go into the Dig Boston office and I'm gonna like go up to Talk and I'm gonna have him like check out the work that I have and put it in Dig Boston, because like I had been reading Dig Boston since I was in middle school, like around the end of middle school, like eighth grade and then ninth grade and so on. And yeah, one day I just ended up, while I was in high school, I ended up just going in to talk to him. I had a whole big stack of my work, and he was actually, let me hop on screen share. But yeah, I got to bring in my work, and he was really, really kind. He was really like generous with his time. He gave me his email and he gave me a lot of nice feedback, and a lot of it has stuck with me all the way up to this day. And like soon after that was when I started to do like my first comic gallery shows, and soon after that was when I started my series for the first time. So this is a look at volume 1, the volume 1 cover for the series that I've been doing. And yeah, like it's something that means a lot to me. It's called Comicscape, and it's just about the life and the adventures of this young kid named Tyler over here and his raccoon sidekick Rocky. And it's something that I get to just use to just explore what it means to sort of like grow up and find yourself in a way. Like I have a lot of fun with the story because I'm able to use it to connect with my own childhood and also connect with my present and my future too. So that's something that's been fun with it. I've been researching different things on storytelling and writing and stuff like that. I remember one thing that Talk told me was about how once you get to just start drawing your story, before you know it, you're going to have like 50 plus pages, and then you're going to be able to just keep going from there. But basically, you're going to find that your story is going to take a life of its own, and then you're going to be able to just keep advancing and figuring things out. So yeah, I've been doing this for a while now, and I've gotten to adapt it into some different things. Like if any of you guys are curious and you go on YouTube, you can see years ago, like 2013, there was a motion comic series that I did with Comicscape, and like that was kind of born out of my desire to just kind of look at the story in a different way In fact, that's why some of these early pages are in color, because I went back at that time and then I colored them for the motion comic. So for that, I held auditions for the characters' voices, and I got like an original music composer and stuff like that too. And I produced like 3 episodes of that for my YouTube channel just for fun. And it was a big project, but I was glad I did it because I got to just explore seeing my characters in a different light and getting to present them in a different way to people. And that's the type of thing that I've gotten to just keep myself experimenting with too, just how I could present the world that I've created in my comic in different ways. So another example of that I did a couple years later, but I'm just now going to release this year, is a mixtape. I did a Comicscape character song mixtape with like original songs and stuff like that, and like a couple. Yeah, like it was something that like I like thought up as an idea. It's called Comics Tape, and that's gonna be something that I'll be putting out later this year too. But yeah, like getting to just do like different kinds of projects has always been what I've enjoyed doing for this series and for other stories too. But yeah, like this is an earlier page of the story. This is a page from a couple years later, and I feel that ironically, I feel that one of the best things that happened with Comicscape like 5 years ago was it actually, not necessarily that what the response was, but I feel one of the best things that happened was it actually getting turned down from a publisher I pitched it to. I pitched it to this indie publisher in 2015, Oni Press. So I did this a couple years after already starting the series. And the reason I'm saying that it was a good thing for me to do it, even though I got the response that I got from it, was I got to learn so much from me preparing and putting everything together into a whole pitch packet for the publisher. And one of those things was I had to force myself to just figure out like a solid overview of the entire story and how many books, how many chapters, like what the new characters are going to be in all of the chapters and stuff like that. And I was talking about demographics and whatnot, and I was just laying a lot of stuff out, and I still have all of that stuff with me now. So I was able to just put together like a solid Bible basically for the world of the story. So that's been something that's been great to just keep having, and it's something that I get to bring to the classes that I do too. So I got to touch on it with Shaanti earlier, but yeah, like I teach comic classes with kids, with teens, and sometimes I'll teach adults also. And I just came out of a teen one, so I might have. Okay, yeah, I have an example. So this is an example of something that I did earlier in one of my classes. So actually, let me go here. Okay, so what I like to use the classes for is just a way to break down different parts of comic theory and fundamentals and stuff like that, and make it so that they can explore these different things in their own way. So what I did for this particular exercise was I actually took a script excerpt from a book that I'm working on now for a different series that I'm doing, and I ended up giving that to them for them to break down themselves into a one-page comic, where first they focus on just designing the 3 characters on the page, whatever way they want. The second step is just thumbnailing the comic, and then the third is them drawing the final page. And I did my own example of how I went about doing it, like over here, just going through it step by step. And that's been one of the good things about getting to do these Zoom classes. I'm able to kind of, in a very like clear way, show them on the screen like what I'm doing and how it works, without me blocking anything, my head or my arm or anything like that. And there's a little dance sequence like in this page also. So like I actually brought up this Calvin and Hobbes page to just serve as an example of how they could think about approaching this type of thing. And you'll also see like I have these lines over the character Hobbes over here, and I just did that to just break down line of action for them, because that's another thing that I've gotten to teach them before. So the thing that's been gratifying about doing the classes is getting to share how these different lessons work in different comics, how I use them in my own comics, and at times I'll even go back to comics I've done before that I'm able to look back on and be like, oh yeah, that wasn't done well, and this is why. I'm able to like share with them the times that I've also gotten something wrong and how that's led to a page that didn't really work. So yeah, for this page, this is again from another series that I'm working on, and these are a couple pages from it. Oh, and I wanted to mention too, if anyone wants to jump in at any point, then feel more than free to. It's totally cool with me. But yeah, so this is a so this would be an all color graphic novel. It's about 2 sisters and their friendship with each other, like and their family, their friends, and yeah, like I've been working on this one for a little while. My girlfriend actually is the one that has written it, because it's about her nieces, who I'm also close to. Like I've known them for close to 5 years now, which is crazy. So
the finished work looks great, man. I haven't seen the
oh, thank you.
finished pages on here, but I love the colors, and this looks really good.
Thank you. Yeah, like it's been a lot of fun to draw out. So yeah, these are a couple pages from it. This is the page specifically that I was showing in that script excerpt too, the whole dance sequence. So when I was drawing this, I was thinking about the Calvin and Hobbes page. Yeah, Pata, they're the title is just the girls' names. It's Layla and Yara. So we're working on that. We're working on it. I got a lot of faith in it, because it's been really cool. The response has been fun. So
looks great.
Thank you.
That girl in the purple is going in.
yeah, the younger sister. She's like that. That's another thing too that I'm bringing to these classes. Like I want the kids that I teach to get to look at different things and different poses and get a feeling of like what a character might be like. And so I feel that I also have to do the best I can to try to convey what I'm talking about in the work itself, so that I could use it for the classes too. So yeah, Jam was just mentioning how Yara looks like she's going in, and just looking at these, you get a sense already, or at least I hope, of like what her personality might be like compared to her older sister. Like she's a really like rambunctious kid. She's really funny. She's really goofy at times. She's really smart, but that's what she's like.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Shaanti.
The connection to the layout that you had for the Calvin and Hobbes is like perfect. Like the kids can see it exactly. They can literally see the purple line and how you flow from character to character with the line, and that helps you follow it from left to right. Like, dude, the way you break it down, and I'm not just like saying this, you know what I mean? Because I do
Appreciate
this.
it.
The way you broke your lesson plan down, and the way you had that thumbnail, and the way you had that example, man, that's a package with itself. You don't even need a person. Like, good stuff, sir.
Thank you.
That's what I'm talking about with the writing. It's the clarity. It's the, like, you know, the because I like selling stuff with pictures, but I want to get to the point where those pictures make sense. Yeah, I mean,
right.
They like right now it's visual.
Yeah, no, I got you, Shaanti. I definitely do, and
but yeah, no,
yeah,
man.
Yeah, it means a lot. I appreciate it. Like I've talked to the kids too about like what you just touched on, just how you can write your stories visually too. Like even just something like the way you design a character, the way you have them express themselves through their faces and emotions, and the way that you frame a scene in terms of where the camera is in a particular panel. Like that's all part of the writing too. So I try to bring that to them as much as possible so that they can like make their work like more specific to what they're trying to talk about and express. So yeah.
LJ, I gotta say, dude, like you sold it, man. Like the you say the younger sister's a bit more rambunctious.
Yeah.
And it's shown through her poses. And if you look up top, the second panel, you can even see it there, like the way they're answering the grandma's challenge. You can see it right there. And it goes to show just how like a lot of the writing, like Talk said, Talk posted in the chat, like writing and drawing is kind of one and the same. Like so you don't have a dialogue describing that, you know, that she's more rambunctious. You could just the writing kind of goes into the way she's dancing, the way she's, you know, answering her grandma. Like a lot of the words are just mixed into the art. That's a good example of it right there.
Thank you, bro. Yeah, it means a lot. Like I'm grateful because like I've studied, and we all have, like we've all studied art for so long since we were kids, and we've all gotten to take like so many different things away from it. Like I remember before I started making my own characters, the first thing that I was doing a lot of, aside from figuring out how to draw characters from different cartoons, was just drawing different faces, different expressions, and making them really exaggerated. And I didn't realize it at the time, but me doing that was me starting to figure out like how I can tell you a message without using words to do it. So yeah, I think that's the thing that's key in comics, especially. Like if you get to do that in a really solid way, then you're allowing the visual medium to just be the visual medium that it is, and the words are going to just make the entire package better too. Or there are going to be times where you'll find that you don't even need to use words for certain things. But yeah, Pata, I saw what you put in the chat too. I remember meeting your daughter and your son at Comics in Color, and it was so nice. So as soon as I know what is going on with this book, because I'm doing something different with it. As soon as I know what's going on with it, I'm gonna let you know, because I'd love for them to get to read it.
Well, you can let us all know, LJ, because
Yes.
I want to see this book too. But this is awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your work. I'm excited about this new project you're working on, and to see volume 4, which I know you're constantly working on, of Comicscape. And and one of the things just to end with you, LJ, is that you came in, you were the first presenter, but you were like 25 at the time, and you had 3 books done. He had 3 Comic Escape books already done in the bag, printed. He had them with him, and we're all like, "Oh my God, this kid is so young, and he's got all this work already done." And I think it really lit a fire under a lot of us to be like, "Okay, he's done so much, and he's so young. We got to get on the horse and just like make it happen." So thank you for the inspiration as well, LJ.
Yeah, thank you, Cagen. I really appreciate it. Yeah, like there's much more to come. I wanted to quickly show to a couple comic strips that I made with these characters. For this one, I just got to use it as a way to so one thing that I've talked with my students too, and I'll end with this, is that you can use your comics really well as a way to express how you feel about different subjects. And you can do that in a way that isn't necessarily what you would expect yourself to do too. And what I mean by that is, in this comic, for instance, I'm using the main character of my series, Tyler, to he's playing this video game that had just come out around that time, and his sister's asking him why he's playing it, because all he's been doing is trashing it the entire time that the game has been announced. And then he ends up revealing to her in the second panel that the whole time that he's been trashing the game, he's never even tried it. He was just doing that because of what he'd seen on the internet. And and then he says that he's decided to use the PayPal info that she left in his eShop account to give the game a real shot once and for all. And then she's asking him what the verdict is, and then he says, "I need to see what Arlo thinks before I tell you." And Arlo is this YouTuber that got really big off of his commentary on this series years ago when the last game came out, and it's Paper Mario. And the reason why I did that specifically was just because like I've seen like how grown people my age have reacted to this series and how they've reacted to the latest game when it was announced. There was a lot of people that were mad that it wasn't like the older ones. And also, the first Comicsgate page features Tyler like playing Paper Mario for 2 weeks and getting thrown out the house because I happened to be replaying that game when I started the comic. But my point is that you can use your comics and your perspectives on different things to sort of make fun of what the discourse around different topics are. And that's also something that I've seen and learned from Talk specifically too, when I was like starting to read Secret Asian Man for the first time, and something that I see in comics like Calvin and Hobbes also. So I got to do that for myself, and in a weird way it was like a little cathartic. Even though it's something as silly as a video game, I used it to also just comment on how as people we could find ourselves quick to throw a certain judgment out there because we see opinions on it out already, and we'll make our mind up before we get to just truly see how we feel about it. And even though I have my character actually trying the game out for himself, he's still resorting to doing that. So yeah, now that I've explained it, I'm sure that it's a lot funnier. But I'm gonna end with that. Thank you guys again so much. Thank you, Cagen. Thank you, Barrington. Thank you, all y'all. Like Shaanti, Jam, Gabriel. Like, yeah, Pata. I'm glad to talk. Everybody, thank you so much. I'm glad that we've gotten to come together and do this. So
Me too.
yeah.
Thank you, LJ. And yeah, you're right. And it's great to have this community. And I really, this has been really like a wonderful exercise in that community. But we got one more person to talk, Gabriel,
Nice.
who was one of our more recent presenters, but he's also, I've seen a bunch of stuff you've been working on lately on like Instagram and stuff. So why don't you tell us what you've been up to?
Yeah, sure. Thanks everyone for sticking around. I'm sorry this is not best for last, but still got some stuff to show. I'm gonna start actually with just like the comics and color stuff because we need context. Like imagine you're a freshman, underclassman at Northeastern University in Boston, never been to Boston. You decide to come anyway because you really love the city and you're trying to find your art community. And I'm just like, I haven't found that yet until I went to Massachusetts Independent Comic Expo with a couple of my friends, and I ran into Cagen at the Comics and Color table. I remember you guys were tabling there, and I saw the flyer, and I was just like, okay, Black comic creators and enthusiasts, please sign me up. I like this. And I was so excited for the festival. Like I literally put the flyer that's like right behind you, like on my desk, and it's like taped like right in the middle of it. And it didn't happen because of the pandemic. But I will say that I was so incredibly like busy with school. Like I was like spending the majority of my weekends just in the Northeastern Animation Lab doing stuff, that I couldn't really make it out to the Boston Public Library. And I hate the pandemic, but also I'm in Kansas City and it's never been easier to like come to meetings. It's just, well, there we are. So yeah, I really appreciate this space. It's really great. And when I come back to Boston and when everything's back in person again, I will be there. I can't wait. So yeah, and like every one of the meetings I've been to, it's been really cool. It's really opened my eyes to all kinds of stories and comics and characters through our lens, especially. It's like amazing. And I'm not like that big of like a comics fan, I think. Like I've been drawing and doodling and stuff, but I haven't read like a lot of like, you know, classic comics and stuff like that. So when I come to these meetings and hear about, you know, what's happening in the industry and what's going on and stuff, it's just like, yeah, okay, I should read this. I found this book, New Kid by Jerry Craft. I just finished it. Oh my gosh, it's so good. Like what the heck? Anyway, so thanks Cagen for the rec.
You are welcome.
Yeah. So yeah, and over the summer I finished my comic Healing Us. That's what I talked about during the meeting. It was an intersection of exploration anyway of the intersection of racial justice and mental health. And I talked about it with my professor, my psych professor from freshman year. And it was really great. And I think that like doing that comic and also just talking about it here was just like one of those things that just made me like, yeah, like I should really make more stories of people of color, people who look like me, and just like is such like an empowering thing, uplifting thing. Always coming to these meetings and stuff too, and just get super inspired. Just like I'm gonna knock out a few pages tonight because of everything I just saw today. So yeah,
I love to hear that.
yeah, for sure. So anyway, but I shall move on. I really, really do appreciate this space and hearing from everyone and stuff. So let me share my screen. I have just a few things to share. Just a few. Anyway, excuse me. Here we go. The biggest thing, by the way, that's been keeping me preoccupied right now is my job. At Northeastern, you get to be on co-op, which is basically allowing yourself to work in your field for 6 months of the year without taking any classes. So what I'm doing right now is I'm making like a bunch of animations and motion graphics at a startup inside Northeastern called Sail. And it's pretty fun. I'm enjoying it. It's a lot of work. No one told me this thing about 9 to 5s is that like, oh, I have all this time in the evening to do whatever I want. You're not gonna wanna do it. So I'm so tired.
That is so real.
But when I am inspired, I am working on a comic right now. It's called, oh wait, first I'll talk about this. As I finished this script, actually, I finished the screenwriting. I took a screenwriting last fall and I wrote an animated pilot. And so I got to do like a bunch of like cool key art and stuff for it. It's called Night Night Ride. It's about 3 Afro-Latino siblings who moved to a small town in Kansas, which is kind of where I am right now. And they go out on the road into a very spooky and surreal adventure and try to make it back home. And I might turn into a full comic. I'm not sure. I might just make more key art like this. It's pretty fun. So yeah, it's very, very colorful, very interesting. Got more characters too. And yeah, it's super like cool too to do like these big like ensemble cast kind of stuff. And I also haven't written like a lot of little kids, and that's kind of like hard to do. But I got like inspiration from my little cousin and like having to look after them when I was like really young. So lots of fun stuff there. Here they are again. And this is all stuff that's on my Instagram, by the way. It's at Gabriel Creates if you're over there.
Yeah, make sure you put that in the chat.
Yes, for sure. And the big thing I'm working on is called Superdog Rise of the Pet Crew. It is a comic that's been in production for quite some time. And it started off really, really big, and now it's a lot smaller and more contained, but this still has the themes of working together as a team, respecting our differences, the things that make us unique are what make us strong. And I'm excited to like do more with it. And I just learned in this meeting today that I am probably going to turn this into a motion comic. That's what it's called. So yeah, fun, exciting thing there. And then like a little process stuff is like, oops, yes, this is like all my thumbnails. I use sticky notes. I started doing that over the summer, and it's just like, oh, it's so fun. I love it. You can crumple things up, throw them away if you don't like it. It's like sticky notes, I think, make it like really easy to like not be precious with your art. So I recommend it.
Yes. So you're working on animation projects currently?
I am, yes. My major is media arts and screen studies. So I'm doing film and animation. But yes, that's what I'm doing. There's lots of art software down here if you didn't see it, animation software. Yes, Shaanti, you say something?
Sorry. I wish there was a way that this was the thing that people displayed. That you could see the storyboarding with post-its and like see your thought processes. Like this would be like a gallery show for me right now. Like, cause that's amazing. Like that thought, like you could see all the whole thought process right there. Very cool, very cool, very cool.
Absolutely, thank you. I was just having a conversation with an art friend yesterday about how like people don't see the messy drawings underneath like the beautiful stuff, and because we don't want to show that, like obviously, but it's so important to the process, right?
No doubt. There's so much layers that we cover over. You know what I mean? With the illustrator, with the like cleaning up your lines, but that I screenshotted that. That looks cool. That looks very cool, man. Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah. And take a look here, like a little, like this is closer at them, like some of the pages. And then actually, if I just move over here, you can see here's the cool pages. We have no words yet or text, but we're working on it, and we're going to post it on Webtoon eventually. I'm thinking in the summer. So that's what we're going for.
Dope.
And here's some of our very fun characters. So, yeah.
Are you writing this story as well?
I am. Yeah. It's been a story I've been wanting to tell for quite some time too. I've always had these characters in my head as something I wanted to draw. And I've doodled this little blue dog here since I was like in kindergarten. So it's been something I've always wanted to do and tell. And I think it's fun too. And he's definitely a self-insert character. Like he's a lot like me, trying to find like their way in like a world that's like, it's a little different. I grew up in a very like predominantly white school, predominantly white environment. And it's just like this, even though he's a dog, it's just like, he's small. He's like a little like crazy, a little nerdy. I'm nerdy too, but I didn't find a lot of nerds at school. So this is like literally just a self-insert. And I think it's fine if it's a self-insert because that's who we know best, right?
Right. And every character is a self-insert, kind of, you know what I mean?
Kind of.
So, call it what it is.
Exactly. So yeah, and I think the only other thing I wanted to show was that I'm also working on writing another story called A Squared. It's about a brother and sister duo who find a magical pair of teleporting shoes, so they can go to all kinds of places in time and space. And it kind of teaches science and engineering and stuff, but it's also a very fun, very comedic adventures. So yeah, that's them again. It's from the summer. And then here's them and their parents. Their parents are astrophysicists, and they always are like the kids are always wanting to try out their new inventions and stuff like that. And the parents are very not okay with this.
I love that. I love that.
It looks great.
Yeah.
Wow.
And the reason I wanted to show it too is because I recently did a piece because over the weekend, a very awesome game that I really love called Super Mario 3D World came out, and on the Switch.
Yeah.
So I drew them as cats.
Super Saiyan Mario. Oh, nice.
Heck yeah.
Nice.
So the story itself, though, this is probably a copyright infringement, but that's okay.
Fan art.
Yeah, fan art. Thank you. It's very much based on like the adventures that my sister and I had as a kid, pretend adventures going places, and I can't wait to actually be able to tell the story and put it on drawings. So that was a really quick thing. There's a lot of things going on. It's very overambitious, but it's really great that we have this space and we could talk about this. Thank you for allowing me to be here. And from the bottom of my heart, I'm just so excited to see where everybody goes here and to see what happens at this Comics and Color Festival. Finally, I'm gonna be there. So yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing that work. It looks amazing. You have a lot of projects happening, but they all look like really fun and amazing. And I'm sure you're going to finish them all because they all look great. And we're all going to, but make sure you put your info in the chat so we can, follow what you're working on there. And when you finish it, we can see the finished product. So that's super exciting.
Sure.
Well, that was awesome. That was such a great session. So many amazing artists, so many amazing people, so much we could learn, so much we shared. It's just, my heart is full right now. All the people saying wonderful things about Comics and Color and sharing their beautiful artwork. And I know that there's more to come. I'm really, really excited about the festival. We got a lot of work to do, but it's all going to be worth it and amazing. And of course, we want all of you there and all of you watching out there in Facebook land to check out Comics and Color, April 22nd through the 24th. And thank you for everybody for coming and adding on. And thank you for staying. I know we went more like an hour longer, but I wouldn't change it for anything. I think it was really, really fun. And I can't.
Hey, can I add? Can I add one thing?
Of course.
I think it's awesome that in all of our origin stories we just told, Talk shows up like our Nick Fury. He's like in our dude. Talks in like every origin story, man.
I know. I was just saying that in the chat that Talk is the common thread that has weaved through all of these stories today.
Honestly, Tack. Honestly, yeah. Honestly,
it's all my fault.
They did when you were running it with the illustration every week, man. That was it. Thank you.
Absolutely, I echo that thing, and praise due for everything that you did. Moving comics forward in the city of Boston.
Absolutely.
Hey, Cagen, I also finished some art during this time as well.
Show it.
Please show. Sorry. Please show it.
Hold on.
Show it. We all want to see it.
Oh, nice.
See, look at that noise.
Wow, you did that while we were talking?
Mm-hmm. Very nice. Very nice.
Show Jacob. Jacob
They
is
kind of take some time to think up.
Jacob is a beast. He's a beast.
Actually,
he's doing his thing.
I have one more that I also wanted to show you that I think I'm not sure if I already did show you.
Jacob and Chris are like silent assassins, bro.
I know, right?
This is another one that I made.
Whoa. That is very nice.
So we're gonna have to have you as a feature soon, bro.
Of course, definitely.
Nice color, man.
Absolutely.
The way I'm trying to draw is like kind of like the way I draw my style is I draw with the black and white, then I go over and outline it like you would normally do. But I only add colors to like specific things like eye color or certain people's abilities or their eye color or something like that.
Love it. It adds like more pop to it.
Awesome.
Jameson, did you have something you wanted to share?
Actually, I did. If you guys are interested.
Okay. We're gonna let Jameson finish it off by showing his piece, and then we're going to call it a night.
Once again, guys, thank you so much. I'm glad that I got to jump on. I know I came in a bit late, and really, I'm glad that I got to see so much shared content. So I really appreciate it. And I'm actually happy because, like you guys, I've been grinding, and I just finished chapter 2.
Oh,
I finished it. Yep, chapter 2.
Of Gear Race? We're talking Gear Race?
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
So, next time when I do come back up, I'll show some more stuff, but I will show these few scenes. Let me see if I can switch my camera around. Okay. So these are some scenes that I'm doing by hand. It's kind of a little tough to understand what's going on, but yeah.
Nice.
Let me go back. So, but this was the page before, and be advised there is graphic content, so I won't be showing certain things.
Yeah, don't show us anything too graphic.
No, of course.
You can call me later and show.
And then we got this.
Nice.
And then before anything, the last scene that kind of picks back up for the comic book ends off with kind of the scene. And then this is our main character having a good time laughing. He's like, "Oh God, you just laughed." And then his mom's like, "Oh, so you think that's funny?"
So Jameson, you're adding the word balloons digitally, right?
Oh yes, of course. So actually, LJ, I'm glad what you said on your point earlier on being able to visually like tell your story. So that was like the main narrative behind like Gear Race was being able to visually tell my story, and then after I'd be able to add dialogue.
Kind of like the Marvel.
No. Oh, okay, yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
Nice.
Then we end off
I love the
here.
cars. Woo! To be continued. Yeah. Wow. Nice.
So I got a mini break, but I'll be doing I should be starting chapter 3 this Monday.
Cool.
So yeah.
Cool. Well, we're gonna have to talk about having you as a feature, my man.
Most definitely.
Obviously not till after April, but
yeah.
Because I'd like to see more.
I got some stuff to show as well.
Say that again?
I got some to show.
I can't hear you, Ahmad. Oh, cool.
I guess.
Cool. Yes. Okay. Oh, there we go. Yes. Nice. I love your character work, bro.
That's awesome.
Nope. Love it.
Updated his design.
Yes.
You make me want to work. You guys make me want to work. That's why I put some of my stuff out. Yeah. Honestly, like I do. I want to draw right now, man. I want to get my character design out. Y'all are coming out hard. Very cool.
I feel that.
Yeah, man. All right, guys. Well, this has been amazing. Thank you, everybody, for sharing. Thank you to Ahmad and Jameson for jumping on and sharing some stuff, and Jacob too. Everybody's amazing. I love you all. This is wonderful. Join us next month for Dummy Comics. Join us in April for the big festival. And yeah, thank you.
Alrighty.
All right, everybody. Have a wonderful night.
Thanks so much, Cagen.
Thank you guys so much.
Cagen, much love, brother.
Thank you. Much love. Much love. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Love to all.
Take care, guys.
Alrighty, take care.
Bless.